Onsight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. Onsight Media Group Podcast. Round of applause for my guy Cash. Recently getting married, starting life with your lady. Again, congratulations to you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
I don't want to mispronounce her name neither, because
her name is Kahinde.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it because I'd have butchered it, and then I just got the privilege of filming you guys' wedding, so that was an incredible experience for me. I'm glad I was
definitely
happy
great
I got
footage.
to do that for you. But yeah, shout out to you and your lovely wife Kahinde. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. It's in there now. If I mispronounce your name, ma'am, I'm sorry. Queen, I apologize to you.
For sure, she go by Kenny. That's go to I said we have our own podcast.
Yeah, I was finna say get that plug in there.
You know what I'm saying? That we've actually recorded 3 episodes. We're trying to get majority of the first season done, then we could drop it. So then it's if we have those gaps, then we still have something constantly coming, which is The Narrow Pursuit with Cash and Kenny, where it's actually about our transformational walk of aligning ourselves to actually walk with God and according to His will and the way He wants us to live. So it's definitely a journey. It's a transparent. It's us being transparent, and I think that people need content where they can actually see somebody that's maybe dealing with some of the same stuff that they may be dealing with, and knowing that God still wants us to pull in and come closer to Him, and walk with Him. So.
Listen, in order to keep up with the latest content, know when we're dropping new episodes, new podcasts, new material, make sure you are subscribed. Onsight Media Group on YouTube. Follow us on all social media platforms at Onsight Media Group. Make sure you click that notification bell so you know every single time that we drop new content on the channel, all right? What's your opinion on the hip-hop scene in the Christian spectrum, like Christian hip-hop? Now, I've spoken on this a couple of times. It's a lot of Christian artists that could really go toe to toe with some of these secular dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's not Lecrae.
I'm not even talking Lecrae. Okay, I'm not even, and I think people just want to put him in that box because he would be the one that was actually able to do like a Mary and cross over into the mainstream world while still delivering that positive message. But I've seen interviews from Lecrae to where he says, I never intended to make Christian music. I never intended to make mainstream music. I just made music that felt good to me. And it just so happens that I love God. So that's what I chose to talk about. Mm-hmm. Like a record that, and we talking about Lecrae, I don't want to go on a tangent, but a record that he won the Grammy for, which I think was the song with Ty Dolla $ign, to me is not a gospel record just because it's named Blessings. If you listen to the wordplay, and it's not on Lecrae's verse, it's more of the Ty Dolla $ign verse. Mm-hmm. Like you take that song total left field, but how the industry judged it, that's another story. But no, I mean, it's a lot of I've been heavy on my Christian rap because I'm still very much a fan of hip hop. But I think the mainstream hip hop now only focuses on one of 3 narratives, which is downplaying females, gun violence, and then drug use. So with me having a 7-year-old son and being a fan of hip hop, I don't necessarily want to put these narratives into his mind and allow him to think that this is okay. And what I'm finding as I listen to this Christian hip hop is if I'm listening to the song for the beat, they not missing. They not missing at all. And now if I add in the subject matter, it's an all around win for me. But I mean, I can't sit here and I'm big on this artist named Caleb Gordon right now. Just fire. And then we got to go back to Lecrae, but I think I don't know if it's his label or if he's signed to the label, but 116, I believe it is. Artist No Big Deal, KB. This guy isn't signed to his label, but an artist out of Atlanta, 1K Few, does a lot of work with Zaytoven. West Coast, Miles Minnick. He just released an album, going back to Lecrae. He just released an album with Lecrae, I think last week, called Get Well Soon. I mean, just, bro. And they crossing over. He got not to cut you off, but they have a song with E40. 1K Few has a song with Young Dro. T.I. actually put out a gospel or a Christian hip hop
with
record
Kirk Franklin and
the Kirk Franklin and the Sunday Choir. Yeah,
and yeah, so it's crazy that you even mentioned that, right? Because it's been a couple of days ago, right here. This was literally Tuesday. This was Tuesday, right? I screenshotted this in my. It's a dope record, right? But I actually was gonna make like a short and speak to it, but I could speak to it now, right? The thing that upsets me or kind of saddens me within like the gospel music type thing, and this speaks to, also one of my platforms, a segue off of the Narrow Pursuit, is like Conflicted Minds, is when you see Christian or gospel artists actually doing music with some of these like secular artists, and it's like the secular artist lifestyle does not change. They still portray what they portray and what they do. It actually causes confusion, and it lets people think that, hey, well, T.I. still do what he do, and he made a song for God, so he's like, he's a Christian, or, whatever denomination he may fall under, right? Because I don't want to put that necessarily label on him. I think that the gospel and Christian artists, whether singers, rappers, choirs, I think that whenever they align themselves with these secular artists, it's like, it got to be your actual real transformation. It just can't be y'all aligning with yourself and then these people are still living in the world, because that causes confusion. It makes people think that, it's okay to be over here and be on that side. That's duality. And it's like, we can't give those split messages. People, especially when you have like a major platform. Like what Snoop Dogg had, the gospel album 2-3 years ago. It was supported by Kirk Franklin, Yolanda Adams, Marvin Sapp, a bunch of
artists on that project.
A bunch of artists. And then after the album came out, Snoop Dogg was on TV smoking weed.
But I mean, you gotta, I don't disagree with what you're saying. But I mean, this goes back, like, early Kirk Franklin, the Stomp record had Salt and Pepper on that record when they were still actively making music. Not saying Salt and Pepper's music was super degrading, but again, these are mainstream artists who are, I'm not going to say pushing a bad narrative, because I don't think I've ever heard a negative song personally from Salt and Pepper.
How many songs did you hear from Salt and Pepper after they were on Stomp though? Because they would have been a group like late 80s, early 90s.
We'd have to go back and look at. They were early 90s. I want to say but again, it's from a female's perspective. I don't remember the album, but did the Shoop record come out after that? Because Stomp was, and I have the computer in front of me. We can look this up.
I think those songs came out before. Now, those songs are so popular that it could be a movie come out next year and they got the song in it. But a lot of times when it comes to the artists owning their music, they don't even own their music. So they don't own the publishing, so they can't say where it goes and where it doesn't go.
So Stomp came out in 97. The Shoop record came out from Salt and Pepper in, give me a date. You are correct, 1993. So you are correct.
Now, I know that they did go on tour. You got like a lot of those throwback 90 groups going on tour and still touring and doing their songs and whatnot.
I mean, this is just a part of their history. This is their culture. This is their body of work. So
you could look at it as them still being secular too, but that doesn't really speak anything for like Kirk Franklin, because like Kirk Franklin was on stage, dancing, gyrating, you know what I'm saying, behind one of the singers.
We can have a whole podcast talking about Kirk and his dances.
So it's like, I don't think it really.
But anybody on that Maverick City tour that paid that money to go on the Maverick City tours, they loved it. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there.
But not to segue too much from like the, I guess, religious style, like artists. I have a few artists that I've been listening to that like rap, but they will be considered more like set apart. I'm not really falling to no type of like denomination. It's a guy called Annabelle the Servant, and like he just dropped an album called Repent, and basically it's like him talking about like changing his life around and living according to God and God's will, and it's a dope album. Dope album. Has, well, it's an EP. It only has 6 songs. I think the major song on that was hard was called like Lawkeeper. And he was just like talking about like how he was like, keeping the law and whatnot. And it was just dope. Another artist is a female called Brit Yah. And I was just listening to like a playlist one day and I heard one of her songs. And after I heard one of her songs by her, I'll show you my phone, right? This is an album, that's an album, that's an album, that's an album, that's an album. It's like 5, 6 albums that I've downloaded of like this particular artist, Brit Yah, and listened to them all. And I know majority of the words because it's like she actually came from being how do you walk into this one? She came from like in the same sexual persuasion as herself. And transferred over. She was actually like a basketball star, and where she was from. I looked up her backstory and just had a whole transition where God met her in a place where she was at like her lowest, and within revealing himself to her, she changed her life around, devoted her life to God. She's actually married now and actually has a kid, but like her music is like really, really representing and true to like the word. She's like dope, dope female rapper.
I'm gonna have to check her out. I don't disagree with you as far as, and we're gonna speak directly to this the T.I. record. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think for me is like I look at my life, and again where I started to where I am now. A lot more comfortable in my faith. What I actually do outside of here, some people may know that I actually have a position at a church. So with me doing that, like I look at it just as elevation or evolution. Excuse me, wrong word. Evolution. Like when we start our journeys in one place, but as we grow, as we develop into these new beings, then we have the desire to do more. And everybody at some point should experience growth. So that's just how I look at it. Like I'm not doing the same thing that I was doing when I was 20. Don't quote me on the Bible verse because I'm not a Bible scholar, but I believe it is a verse that says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I acted as a child, but eventually as I grew, I learned and put away my childish ways. Now, as far as the record, like, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but the beauty of it is, for me, it opens and starts a conversation for a non-believer, let's say, to have a person that they may admire or idolize or gain or get influence from, to actually start them down this mindset or this rabbit hole of, well, what is my faith? What is my religion? What is Christianity? What is me seeking God? Because if they don't do that in their own way, then do they ever come to that mindset? One of the biggest, and we talking about secular records that actually religious secular records, I think for me in my era, the biggest will probably be Kanye and the whole Jesus Walks. Again,
which is actually written by Black Thought. Go ahead.
I didn't see, you just schooled me on something. I didn't know that. I did not know that. But if Kanye doesn't do that record, then do I get to the point to where now I am seeking and looking more into my faith? And I'm sure it's more people that were inspired by that record, or just for him to be at that time. And we're talking, when was this? This is like 03. So yeah, you definitely didn't. Well, now this might have been the height of Mary, other than in the black community, other than Mary being on mainstream with the God in Me records and all of that type. You're not getting religion on mainstream radio. And now they're definitely pushing those narratives that more resemble what you get if you listen to the radio now. So
yeah, I remember,
to me, it's just that evolution now. Of course, Ye's evolution went in another direction, but you know, Ye feels he is a god, and depending on what he's the influence and what he's studying, we can see how he comes to that thought process.
He just made a post the other day I seen where I guess he got to see his kids, and he was just like, "I'm not mad anymore." He's like, "I love everybody." He's like, "I'm no longer anti-Semitic." I don't want to segue talk about Ye, but you know,
for me, some of that is also attention seeking. I know what buttons I need to push in order for me to stay relevant in the movement, because when I go quiet, then I'm forgotten, and once you're forgotten, and this even goes back to, I think Kurt Franklin did an interview with I believe it was Cam Newton, to where he says, I don't want you to forget about me. Don't paraphrase me in exactly how he said it, but ultimately is, I continue to do what I do because I'm too afraid to let you forget about me. Once you forget about me, then I no longer exist. And we see how many artists that if you don't reinvent yourself into other things, if you're a one-trick pony, then ultimately something bigger, something better, the wave is going to change and you're phased out. So
I think when that's a great example I could use to kind of let, I guess, people understand like my viewpoint of it. Can somebody hear a song from one of these secular guys, an artist that's by themselves, or even with a gospel Christian, you know, artist, and it affect and help somebody change in their life? Yes, I do think so. But we also have to remember is that the devil knows the truth. The devil knows the word. And I use the comparison to some of these churches. A lot of people in this day and era, they don't really trust the church, right? You know that if you walk in that church, you're going to hear the pastor on those churches that are wolves in sheep clothing. You're going to walk in, you're going to hear some truths because they're going to quote some Bible verses to you. You know what I'm saying? You may be able to take that Bible verse and be like, hey, that really touched me. But sometimes the fruit that they're not producing actual fruit there. You know what I'm saying? That draw people in, and sometimes being drawn into the wrong thing can actually put you on a path that doesn't lead you where you need to go. And I think that's kind of the same thing with some of his music. Like I think somebody can hear it and it can, like, you know, meet somebody where they're at, and it can, if it's in their heart for them to change their life and walk that walk, then they'll do it personally. But I just think it just brings more confusion, you know, over everything. You know, because it's like blending. You know, just like when was it Takeoff died, we watched Maverick City go on the awards and they performed with Quavo.
I missed that. I didn't see that.
And it, you know, and then honestly, was one of the lead singers from Maverick City. He be blending stuff. I just seen a video of him somewhere. He was just on stage and he was singing a bunch of like secular songs. You know, and it's like when you're on a platform that a lot of people are watching you, it's just like if you go to church, the pastor's always being watched. He's always being watched. And it's like, not everybody is going to be like, you know, oh, the pastor did this, but you got those ones that as soon as the pastor slips or does something that could be just deemed as regular person, because we all could fall short. Now it's like, oh, this, you know, so I just really feel like that about it. You know, we gotta be careful, and we really gotta like guide ourselves from some of that stuff. I heard the song with the thing that threw me off about the song, I haven't gonna lie, was from Young Dro's verse. Young Dro was like something, and he said, "Daddy," and I was like, "What?" And that's how when I went and pulled it back, I was about to be like, "Yo, Young Dro, you left pocket." And then I'm like, "Okay, this is supposed to be a gospel song," and it's like, well, this song's from 2 years ago. We just seen T.I. in Atlanta where he couldn't get inside the club and he was cussing the dude out, threatening him and all that type of stuff like that. Like, you don't know who I am. And it's like the energy, and it's like, is he really walking that, you know what I'm saying, that path? That was just in the moment. And a lot of times, some of these people do things to sell.
I don't disagree with that.
They do things to sell, because with all music, all music should touch a person in an emotional type way. Not negative or positive. That's the effect that music has on people. So a lot of these, they sit back with people and be like, "Hey, RBPR. I mean, you had this going on with your few years back, T.I. made the crazy comments talking about like his daughter, you know what I'm saying, and different issues he had with his son. You don't have this negative stuff. You gotta get out there and let people know this. Because if you look at the cover of that picture, it's a mugshot. It's all their mugshots combined together. I don't know if you've seen the cover for that album. I'm like even Kurt Franklin's mugshot. I'm like, dang. And look, the Kurt Franklin mugshot don't even look old. So I'm like, what's up?
Kurt Franklin has a mugshot?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, this picture right here, that's all their mugshots. Those are mugshots of all three of them.
It sure is. Interesting.
Now, what Kurt Franklin did, I didn't take the energy and time to go and look it up, but I can tell that ain't no old picture. That's old Kurt Franklin, meaning like as in old age, you know.
Or could that, well, we know about T.I., but I was going to say, could that be graphic design to make us have this conversation and speculation on... It's politics behind it all. At the end of the day, it's politics behind it all. And I just wanted to bring up this point. I think you made a very, very valid point when you spoke about the church. I think, well, I don't think, but we definitely hear how the way church is now done, the look of church. Oh, no, you found that definitely looks like a mugshot.
It's a mugshot.
No, that's a mugshot. That
November 20th, 2003.
That was definitely a mugshot. Okay. We'll see how he's transformed his life. He's still one of the biggest household name known gospel artists of our time. Like
somebody said somebody said he must have been Plies that day.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the memes and is that Plies' brother and all of that. Yeah.
Oh God.
But the church, like how they're comparing the church to the secular world, like church has become a club. That's even been said about my church. Like in the way, you got the LED walls and the fog machines and the lights and the way they do worship and everything now. Like some people are comparing the church to nightclubs, and they're saying that this style of church has been done more for followers, to fill seats, yes, mm-hmm. instead of actually, ministering to and saving souls. So, even in the biblical days in the Bibles, there are critics everywhere. Critics aren't going to die. Mm-hmm. Somebody with a difference of opinion, that's just the test of time. That's always going to be there. Mm-hmm. I think for the ones that truly have the right intentions, then you continue to walk. That could even be said about us. How we started in some of the things that we've been through when we just give our honest opinions on, music from around the area and how that's perceived from the outside public. Like, that ain't stop us. Y'all sitting here listening to us right now. So, mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't know if I quite articulated my point, but I think overall what I'm trying to say is it's critics everywhere. Sometimes we just have to, especially with the Bible, it's a verse somewhere that says we are to read it for ourselves, to show ourselves approved. So, sometimes you gotta definitely study it. Like we study the things that we talk about, the music that we listen to, that we get on here and talk about. We study it for ourselves and we give our opinion and we stand on it because we believe in it. So at the end of the day, yeah, what do you believe in? Are you a reformed person? Who is your higher power? Who are you answering to at the end of the day? Yeah, that's what I got on that subject. Great conversation though. Anytime we can bring the truth into a conversation, it's a good conversation. Whether we're talking about the music, whether we're talking about
I think before we
our
segue,
souls.
one of the things just to kind of leave with it is that nobody's perfect, right?
Nobody.
It's a constant. It has to be a constant walk that you have to, and as the more you walk, the more God will actually help you have growth. We ourselves, we're still, in growth. But if you even go back to like some of the pods that we've had over the past few years, I know I've said it multiple times and you've also said it. Whenever we've done like some of those reviews and like some of the like street music that some of those guys got, like we understand what the industry is eating up, right? What the industry is going to buy and everything like that. And we've tried to be fair in some of those spaces within doing some of those reviews, but we've also, at the end of them, always said, or in the process said, this is not our type of music. I don't necessarily support the message of the music. We've said that, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I don't know where I stand going forward with some of those type of reviews because I do want to align myself differently with, music, not necessarily separating from hip hop or the culture or the community behind it. But there's certain things you just, you got to build in different and just kind of walk and just know it's a process. It's not nothing that's going to happen overnight. It also says, before you try to, you gotta take the spike out of your eye before you can take it out of your brother's. It's thrown out of your eye before you can take it out of your brother's. So and it's not a thing about being judgmental. It's a thing to understand that we all have growth, but sometimes within growth, we will see things that just don't align. And you have to just be aware of them. That's it.
Absolutely. Beautiful conversation, man. Beautiful conversation today. I don't even know if I want to get into another topic or whether we just table this one for today and then hit them with more content next time. What's your closing thoughts? What you gonna leave them with?
I actually had a public announcement that I wanted to
Cash got a public announcement every episode, every podcast we do. Cash got a public announcement for y'all. That's gonna have to be a segment all on its own. It's Cash's public announcements.
Now, I was recently. This is actually about like health concerns and like foods and whatnot. I was honestly thinking about one of the segments that we just produced, and like I was like, dang, we need to have like a side segment like Onsight Real Talk, where we just come to y'all and give y'all the the straight truth and just speak on different things. But one of the things was there's a lot of actual recalls that's going on with food. And I seen it came up like across me, it was like cucumbers. And I was like, well, dang, what else is being recalled that may not be a public thing? I just have a list right here. I'm just going to want to run some of these things down and we'll definitely cut this out and share it. The messaging also will post it from the Onsight page. Right now, this outbreak of salmonella, they're dealing in cucumbers, as well as tomatoes that affect North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Ready-to-eat sandwiches and snacks that be like at hospitals, gas stations. That's like the sandwiches, salads, and all that type of stuff like that. Anything that's dated between April 22nd and May 19th has a recall for contamination. There's a recall on baby foods, the Public Wise pouches, and that's across North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Anything that has a date that's before November, anything that has a date that's says best buy before November 1st, 2025, is being recalled. A bunch of ice cream brands, Blue Bunny, Halo Top, the Bomb Pop, and Blue Ribbon. There's been traces of metal found in all these different ice creams. These things obviously are in our local grocery stores, hospitals, schools, etc. And then also pork carnitas. That's like the type of like meat they use for like tacos and whatnot.
Yes.
The meat packages that come from Aldi's, the 16-ounce packages, they have traces of metal fragments in them. So anything that has a best use date for July 25 or older has been recalled. So I just wanted to put that information out there. This is like, I know everybody in our community don't necessarily do the research or see these things. So sometimes when you see like that video come across your wall that has that information, take it, share it out, you know what I'm saying? And that's really it, community.
That is excellent.
Yeah.
And you actually just gave me my final thought, which is if it benefits you and you have the opportunity, grow your own food.
Yes.
If people, the people that know me know that COVID, if you did not learn a gift that was laying dormant inside of you when the world shut down for COVID, you didn't pay attention. So one of the good things that happened for me during COVID is I got introduced to gardening, which has become like my therapy. The only time I don't find happiness in my garden is when I come outside and Bambi has ate my cucumber and tomato plants, which recently happened, but that's another story. But
it's
with what
that's right, pull on. I'm gonna tell you about it. I gotta look it up.
Oh no, my fence wasn't. I had a gap in my fence, and they were able to. They basically walked around till they found their way in. But we've taken care of that now, so
okay.
Hopefully I've got it under control. But to get back to my point, we know that just hands down in the 1800s, there were no fast food restaurants. There were no grocery stores. So if you didn't network with a family or a farm that was growing this produce or raising these cows, these goats, these chickens, then you probably struggled at eating, right? But now in modern day times, we have all of this convenience. And just because it's convenient doesn't necessarily mean that it is good for us because you're able to eat it. The body is a very unique mechanism and is able to handle a lot of things, even when they're not for us. We know that. But ultimately, and this is also a personal story, I have a grandmother that will turn 100 this year.
Shouts out to her, man.
Shouts out to her. Shouts out to Grandma Mildred turning 100 years old coming up in August. And my wife's grandmother, before her passing several years ago, I believe she lived to be 101. And now we're seeing more of these stories to where people are living longer lives because, number one, they stay out of other people's business. They keep their stress levels low. But more importantly, they grew their own food. They ate more vegetables than this processed foods. They weren't heavy on meats because ultimately our bodies are not designed to eat meat, even though we can, right? So it's been a major plus for me, being able to grow my own food. I know where it comes from. I know what pesticides are on it because ultimately I sprayed it on there if it's a pesticide. Which I really don't use pesticides. We look up natural remedies for keeping bugs and all of that stuff off our plants. But again, it's gonna. I've become healthier. I have more energy, and like I said, I know what I'm putting into my body, and I know the wholeness of it. The healthiest way to be is a raw vegan. I am not a raw vegan. I absolutely still love meat. But the good thing about that is my father is an avid hunter. So I don't eat pork at all. The only meat that I truly eat is chicken and deer. So
I want to try deer. I haven't.
Oh, say less. I got you. I got you. Now you definitely have to cook it the right way. Everybody can't cook it, but if it's cooked the right way, it is phenomenal. And deer is probably one of the leanest meats. Of course, you can't buy it in the store. It's a wild game. But it's one of the leanest meats that you will ever get. Deer don't have hardly any fat on them. So, but yes. Pay attention to what you're putting in your body. If you don't have it, I'm gonna give it to everybody right now as I close. Yuka, Yuka, is an app that you can download on your phone right now that will tell you the health benefits and what's in the food and the products that you put on your body, the food that you put in your body. Yuka, look it up in your app or your Google store. Download it. Pay attention to it. It's a great help, especially like me and my wife have become religious. We walk as we're grocery shopping. We're looking and scanning. And of course, the healthier foods are going to be a little bit more expensive. But overall, you only get one life. One life. It's yours.
I started that list right there.
What is in our foods? Oh, yes. We see these videos all the time. What is in our foods?
I started that list late 2022 to where I actually got to where I don't like going to the grocery store anymore because what could be a 5-10 minute trip was 30 minutes to an hour for me because I'm reading the background of everything.
Absolutely.
And just writing it down. What is this? Searching it to where I got all this, put together, and I actually was showing my wife, and she's like, "Yo, how long have you had this?" And I was like, "Yo, I've had this for over like 2 years." And she's actually helping me get the IBN. So we actually can put this together and put it out as a book where it's basically going to be like a dictionary A to Z of what's actually in our food. So that's actually something that you can look for from me in the near future.
And until Cash has his directory together to where you can purchase that or download that, remember Yuka, Yuka.
I'm actually gonna look that up too.
Yuka in your Google or your Apple app store. That's it for today, man. We hope we brought y'all some valuable content. We hope the conversation has been insightful for all that watch or all that listen. And as always, y'all continue to stay tapped in with us. It's Antrell, it's Cash. We'll catch y'all next time on the Onsight Media Group podcast.
Onsight.